Hello and welcome to another anime lore and theory video. I'm Shergok, your host, and today we are going to take a closer look at how powerful Neia Baraja truly was, how her special ability let her influence an entire kingdom, and why the rabbit hole goes so much deeper than any of this. But before we're going to take a closer look at any of this, let me quickly thank my Patreons for supporting this channel, as well as say thanks to all users of the YouTube thanks function for making one-time donations. And with that said, let's get to the topic at hand. And at best we start right from the very beginning. Neia Baraja was born as the daughter of Pavel Baraja and a still unnamed mother, and Neia took more after her father. While a mother with strong faith entered the Paladin Order, Pavel Baraja was a general in the army of the Holy Kingdom, and he was not only one of the 9 colors, but also the one who influenced Neia in her childhood. And he taught her how to hunt and find her way in the forest and in general be like basically a ranger. And therefore, as a result, one of her classes was an archer, and she also inherited his keen senses, something that made her father proud. However, since her father was often deployed far away from home, most notably serving at the wall, her mother was responsible for Neia's upbringing, and being a paladin, her mother wanted Neia to follow in her footsteps, so Neia also became a squire in the order. Unfortunately, Neia was usually not at home when her father returned, and had leave or breaks from his military duties. So they couldn't have as much contact as they would like to. And at that time Neia's classes were archer and squire, meaning she was basically a paladin in training, and she supported fully trained paladins and performed assistant tasks. And the levels earned in the squire class can also be fully converted into another class when the correct prerequisites are met. In Neia's case, this would be the completion of her paladin training, and then she would become a paladin, and the squire class would turn into the paladin class, and the levels would just carry over. And as a paladin, Neia would have been physically weaker than an average frontline fighter who's just a pure melee build, but she would have many support abilities, primarily the ability to imbue her sword with a holy effect. But spoiler warning for the movie and for the books, if you hadn't read them yet, Neia Baraja doesn't survive her battle in Kalinsha. She did die as a hero, and was even referred to as a hero by others, after the victorious Battle of Kalinsha, which is a nice upgrade from being called Murderer Girl, or Fanatic Mad-Eye Girl, or something along those lines. But since she ran out of arrows, even the extremely powerful bow that Neia had basically received from Ein Solgon as a marketing gift couldn't save her. However, Ein Solgon resurrected Neia after giving up on recruiting Remedios to his own side, and after closing his eyes and realizing that Neia did not hate him, and that she just looked always that way, he realized that she admired him. And as someone with the same eyes as Neia, that's somewhat relatable, to be honest. But through her resurrection, Neia also lost her levels in squire and archer. However, through the use of her bow, and through her fanatic devotion, she had gathered an enormous amount of experience points and a way to spend it. And the first was the paladin class. In other words, her swordsmanship in her life and death situation and her victory over the demi-human army earned her the status of a proper paladin. Additionally, she gained the class Sacred Archer, which is basically the ranged equivalent of a paladin. In other words, while paladins can imbue their swords with holy effects, sacred archers can apply the same type of magic to their weapons and arrows. In other words, her own bow, the ultimate shooting star super, became even more powerful that way. Moreover, Neia gained the class Founder, which isn't described in detail but likely refers to the cult she was building around Ein Solgon, as she preaches that Eins is justice and that weakness is a sin. Nice girl. Which brings us to her final class, Evangelist, and with this, she has the ability to subconsciously manipulate people. From the perspective of her listeners, her words are so carefully chosen, and carry so much weight and meaning, that she can usually convince people to join her cause. And she is also able to inspire traumatized people, giving them new courage and a renewed will to live, by getting them enthusiastic about her cause. And you can imagine how many people that would apply to in the Holy Kingdom after Demiurge occupied the northern part of the country for months, turning it into a large-scale happy farm. And even the southern half of the country also felt the impact of Demiurge, aka the evil Lord of Wrath, during the final battle. And through this situation, and with this incredible support from Demiurge behind the scenes, by, for example, making sure that Tuara and Sebas will assist her, Neia was able to effectively take power in the country. She became so important that she was stamping her seal on international documents supporting a war of, let's be honest, annihilation. In other words, she had enormous political power. And with that said, let's move on to her equipment. And we start with the Ultimate Shooting Star Super, which by Ein standards is a trash top item and intended only for mid-level players from Yggdrasil. But from Neia's point of view, the bow is at least on par with the holy sword Zarfalisia that Remedios wields. And the bow looks very heavy from the outside, but it is surprisingly light and gives Neia's buffs just for wearing it. Additionally, it is armor-piercing, meaning its arrows can penetrate even thick armor. And this is not a stat of the bow, but it is also a marketing object, as it was allegedly created by the dwarves, using the sacred and secret art of runecraft. Though this was a complete lie. But it was just intended to boost the sales of such runecrafted items and weapons in the Holy Kingdom. Next is the Circlet of Iron Will, and this hairpiece makes the wearer immune to spells, like Charm, or to fear effects, but not necessarily to a strong direct fear attack themselves. And it also strengthens resistance against mental manipulation in general. And Jurknif also had a similar item, but still the Circlet of Iron Will doesn't eliminate the wearer's own natural fear. It only blocks supernatural magical effects. And then there's the Star Pendant, which makes Neia completely immune to fear, including from Einsolgon's own troops and enchantments. Though I'm sure that this has a limit and that an Aura of Fear level 5 would probably be a bad experience for Neia. And next we have the Gauntlets of Archery, which makes the wearer's fingers steadier, faster, and allowed to make better and stronger shots. Moving on, then there's the Turtle Shell, and the Turtle Shell armor, like all magical items, automatically adjusts to the size of its wearer, which mean that not only Boozer, but Neia could also wear it. And it protects against projectiles, including ballista bolts. And then there's the Necklace of Strong Healing, or the Necklace of Heavy Recovery, and this necklace allows the wearer to use the level 3 tier Heavy Recovery spell as many times as the wearer has mana to cast it. Finally, there's the Mirror Shade Visor, and it grants an archer the ability to use the Snake Shot ability every 3 minutes, and this causes arrows to literally track enemies through the air, even changing direction mid-flight. In other words, the arrows become like guided missiles. And with all this equipment and protection, and with the Ultimate Shooting Star Super as her primary weapon, and a promotional gift, Neia is extremely powerful, and it took a severe shortage of ammunition and dozens of demi-human attackers to finally bring Neia down in close combat, making her more or less the ranged equivalent to Remedios Custodio, even though her own level is much lower than hers. And Neia also shows why there's a big difference between what one naturally has a talent for and what one personally desires to do with their own lives, even if it isn't optimal. Neia, from the very beginning, from her most early childhood, was a natural talent in archery, with her father's eyes and her training. But she wanted to become like her mother, which made her a mediocre member of the Paladin Order. And there's a lot more behind all of this than you might initially think. And this brings us in general to the transformation from a squire, someone who, like her devout mother, also wanted to uphold justice with a sword in hand and was part of the old Paladin Order, into an archer, a sacred archer, associated with what I call rather shady figures from the Holy Kingdom, aka her own father. And this shift is more reflective of her own father. And again, he was more of an outlaw type and not a upstanding and morally righteous paladin. And he had more in common with Sandor Clegane from Game of Thrones than with Sir Loras Tyrell. And this change illustrates very clearly how she was completely transformed, and where her loyalties now lie. Neia Baraja, and I've said this time and time again, has inherited her father's sharp and intimidating eyes, and she was a natural talent in archery because of her father's ways of training her and because her father always supported her and was there for her, while her mother was busy with the Paladin Order before their roles reversed, and he nurtured her talent to her childhood. And Neia even made a small figure to look like him, though it came out looking more like a monster, which, when Pavel Baraja said that, deeply hurt Neia, and to make up for it, Pavel Baraja carried the figure with him until his very end. But here's the point: Neia also deeply admired her mother, a proud and upright member of the Paladin Order, and her mother's deed inspired Neia to join the Order herself and dedicate herself to the hard and demanding life of a squire and an eventual paladin. However, Neia was absolutely mediocre when it came to swordsmanship, and without her preferred weapon, the bow, she lost a significant amount of combat power and was far less effective than she would have been with the bow, so there's an obvious disconnect here. But here's the point: Neia Baraja did something that Remedios, despite many parallels between the two, never would have done. She learned. She saw that her ambitions, although well-intentioned, were not leading her anywhere, and so she changed her approach. With Neia's resurrection and the loss of her already limited swordsmanship skills and the transformation into a paladin, this also symbolized her transformation into her true self and her actual destiny. Now her talent, previous training, and her natural abilities have all aligned. Neia is still doing what she did before, only as a sacred archer, and still wants to make her country a better place and bring about change for the better. And that's why she praises Ainsul Gon, with whom she is fascinated, and tells everyone that he represents justice and that weakness is a sin, all while Shizu presents the new collection of weapons crafted by Runecraft from the Sorcerer Kingdom. But the same motivation that led her mother to join the Paladin Order and help others, and that also pushed Neia to try to become a paladin, now serves to strengthen Ainsul Gon's position within the Holy Kingdom, and it is something that Neia deeply enjoys and is passionate about. And again, that pays very well because of all of the runecraft, and that is very good for the society, that now has hope again, that can be alleviated from their trauma thanks to Neia's evangelist class. Neia is now at complete peace with herself, and everything has aligned perfectly. And this has an even deeper meaning, because it represents a Japanese concept called ikigai. In short, Neia is not only rewarded spiritually and materially for her work, but she is doing something useful, helping her own country and her fellow citizens from her own perspective. She already had a similar role in the Paladin Order, but she was only mediocre at swordsmanship and would have fallen far short of her potential. Now, she effectively is leading an entire country to her work as Ainsul Gon's spokesperson, and she's also much more stronger in combat, now that she practiced archery again, as seen in the book and in the movie. So she can now fight much better than she could ever as a squire or just a traditional sword-bearing paladin. In other words, all four aspects, what the world needs, what you're good at, what you enjoy, and what you are recognized and valued for, are accounted for in Neia Baraja's new life. And it's because of such a well-thought-out character development, which also gives us insight into another culture, and basically into a culture on the other side of the world, that I just love and adore anime in general, and Overlord in particular. And with that said, now it's your turn. What do you think of Neia Baraja's transformation and her strength, and the concept of ikigai? Do you think it's good? Or perhaps do you think a more individualistic approach than this more collective approach? Again, let me know it down in the comment section. And with that said, please check out my German channel, my fantasy channel, and if you don't want to listen to my voice or accent, but are still interested in the things that I have to say, I have made an AI channel, where I use AI voiceovers for my videos, and the channels are all linked down in the video description. Also, please check out my Patreon if you want to support me beyond just leaving a like or sub. And with that said, I say thank you very much for watching, thanks to my Patreons for supporting this channel, and special thanks to Other Daddy Other, ASK, Bad Guy Ye, Bad Burrito 316, Bezer, Ben C, Brandon D, Chrissy, Crowley 0221, Sia, Crystal Prime, Dead Slime, Death is Mercy, Deathless Dragonlord, Demon Xenomorph 1987, Devin Downen, Ding Dong, Dan Pep, Dragonlord Placido Saxophone, Duckwagon, Dunkler Krieger, Dystopia, Dystopia II, Enigmatic Unicorn, Feral Shivan, Guy with That Head, Hector Marino, Hoss, Huster, Jacob G, Jana B, Jason, J. Morris, Chromius, Kyle R, Lee K. Long, Legendarius, Lelouch V. Britannia with a Mustache, Lexus Fox, Lord Nishikian Rai, Lord Touch Me, Loverazer, Merovec, Mr. Shoes, Mr. Tweaker, Michael R, Michael Y, Nope, Oh Hell No, Normal Toad, O'Kill, Overlord General Gasper, Paddy Pantum, Personage, Ruru, Primus 11, Rhinomere, Kune Caracos P, Shergox's Daddy, Shadow Lightning Wolf, Shrine Keeper, Sir Axolotl, Super Tier Magic Batista Bomb, Supreme Cheese, Staris, Ted, Texas Deer, Diorg Warboss, Rock Ed Smasher, T.E. Wang, Vash Hawkeye, Vegito 27, Venture Fanatic, Wilhelm, Zinukai, and Sonagon. Thanks guys. Anyway, have a nice day, and I hope to see you all again soon on my next video.